GamingBolt presents 15 creepy Pokemon mysteries that will make you regret believing in them. Game Freak's Pokemon has been a cultural phenomenon for decades and found popularity as a social phenomenon with Pokemon Go. However, for a universe that prides itself on being family-friendly, there are plenty of creepy Pokemon mysteries. Some may even make you regret believing in them in the first place. CUBONES mask. There are several reasons why the whole Cubone is actually wearing its dead mother's skull lore is weird. Breeding Cubones sees them emerge from their eggs with their masks equipped. Also, at one point in Pokemon Origins, you can actually see a Marowak guarding her child. A Cubone with its mother's skull on? Yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense, so theories of where the skull comes from are pretty far out. Ginny and Joy clones. Why do all of the various Nurse Joys and Officer Ginnies look alike? Are identical cousins really a thing? Well, no, but there have been many theories to explain their resemblance. Team Rocket leader Giovanni apparently sought Mr. Fuji, a scientist trying to use cloning to bring back his dead daughter. Fuji was capable of creating Mewtwo from Mew, but it's speculated that Giovanni also pushed him to create numerous clones of nurses and officers. Why? Well, that is the real question. Ash's father. What happened to Ash's dad? In fact, if you think about it, a lot of trainers in the Pokemon TV show don't have fathers. While the mothers say that it's because they went on to become Pokemon trainers, it's kind of weird. Of course, there is the theory that humans are actually just hyper-intelligent Pokemon and everyone is descended from Mew, the ancestor of all pocket monsters, but don't quote us on that. Then again, it could be that just some great war took place that saw many of the adult males killed. Ghost Girl. First encountered in Pokemon X and Y, players will find a creepy-looking girl who suddenly appears in a building as the music stops and says, "No, you're not the one." It's completely random and never explained, though the girl herself has been used in marketing material. Jump forward to Pokemon Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, and the girl can be spotted again in Mount Pyre, where she repeats, "No, you're not the one." Here's looking forward to the inevitable day when she calls us and says the words, 7 days. The Haunted Apartment. For even more horror in Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, head over to Mauville Hills and search the various apartment buildings. Eventually, you'll come across an apartment with an intercom that offers a wordless response, as opposed to the line, "There's no reply." And while most apartments indicate the owner even when empty, this one says, "There is a great deal on the lease." Could there be something supernatural inside, and is a tragedy responsible for the great deal? That's anyone's guess. Gary's RATICATE dies. One of the most popular theories in the Pokemon universe stems from the fight with Gary and Red on the SS Anne. When you battle with Gary and wall up his RATICATE, the theory is that he couldn't get it to a Pokemon Center and save it in time. Later, when visiting the Lavender Town Tower, you'll see Gary at the gravestone for a Pokemon, hinting that perhaps the player killed his RATICATE. The fact that RATICATE never appears on Gary's team again adds fuel to the fire. Horrifying ghost Pokemon. The ghost Pokemon you encounter through the various games aren't just there for show. They're actually creepy creatures with creepier backstories. Take Yamask, who apparently was human once upon a time and carries a mask resembling its old form. Or Duskull, who seems to take bad children away. Or Lampent, who literally waits in hospitals for people to die, presumably to feast on their souls. The range of horror that ghost Pokemon perpetuate is pretty extreme. Ditto and Mew. Ever wondered why there were so many Ditto on Cinnabar Island inside the Pokemon Mansion? You know, the same place where Mewtwo was created? One theory says that Ditto is actually a failed clone of Mew, who can still use Transform, mind you, which Mew can as well, but Mewtwo cannot. It's not the weirdest theory, but we'll probably need more information to go off of. The Great Pokemon War. You've probably heard of the Great Pokemon War theory, and it does offer an explanation as to why many of the adults, including men, are gone. Basically, before the story of Pokemon Red and Blue begins, there was a huge war that took place in Kanto involving Pokemon. It serves to explain why kids can pretty much do whatever they want and are so obsessed with battle. As for collecting all of the Pokemon, it's done to see which ones had survived the war. You'd think it's all nonsense, but when you hear Lieutenant Surge talking about electric Pokemon saving his life during the war, it starts to make a lot of sense. Missing No and Corrupted Pokemon. Missing No has been noted by many as a glitch, possibly a Pokemon that the developer created but didn't finish and thus chose to leave in the game, semi-confident that players wouldn't find it. However, one of the cooler theories seems to be that if Pokemon are left inside Pokeballs for too long as data, that data can be corrupted, thus becoming a Missing No. When you consider that Pokemon have to become some form of electronic data for transferring and storing purposes, this doesn't sound too weird. WOBBUFFET'S real body. Wobbuffet, the docile, happy Pokemon, doesn't like its tail being attacked. That's because the body is a fake. The actual body is in the tail, with Wobbuffet going crazy if the tail is struck to the point of trying to kill itself and its enemy with Destiny Bond. Even more interesting is the theory that Wobbuffet was actually the result of an unknown trying to survive on its own and creating a Why Not as a substitute body. Why Not would then evolve into Wobbuffet for an even tankier body. Humans eat Pokemon. Inevitably, when you're entrenched in a universe or fandom for a long time, you start to ask, what do the people eat? In Pokemon, this has horrifying implications because the people do in fact eat Pokemon. So underneath the smiling veneer and themes of friendship, you have Farfetch'd hunted to near extinction and Slowpoke's tails being labeled as tasty and nutritious. The latter's tail even has a restaurant dedicated to serving it. It just makes you wonder, what other Pokemon do people eat, and have there been some grisly incidents to arise as a result? Sableye and Hopkinsville Goblins. The Pokemon Sableye is meant to be inspired by the Hopkinsville Goblin, an alien creature which apparently harassed a family as a pack in Kentucky. They were described as 3 feet tall with shining eyes, claws, and hips that swayed, which, oddly enough, Sableye imitates when playing the 3D Pokemon titles. The Hopkinsville aliens are well known in Japan, but is Pokemon trying to say that a pack of Sableyes went after a family in Kentucky? JYNX might eat flesh. So JYNX is an ice psychic type, whose overall look is inspired by the Genguro culture. This is the Japanese trend of wearing lots of makeup, overtly flashy clothing, and having blonde hair. However, those who practice the trend, who are labeled Yamanba, are meant to reference the Yamauba, who like luring travelers to their cabins in the mountains to eat them. Hence the ice and psychic connection. We're not saying that JYNX and Genguro practitioners do the same, but hey, it's one hell of a theory. The Lavender Town myth. There's more to Lavender Town than just a creepy Pokemon tower full of graves and ghost Pokemon. In fact, one story, which draws from many creepypasta, so take it with a grain of salt, is that Lavender Town's song was responsible for driving up children's suicides in Japan. This was following the release of Pokemon Red and Green, and the rumor was that there was some frequency or code that seemed to harm children who listened to the Lavender Town theme. There's no conclusive proof, for sure, but it's still creepy all the same. And that'll be about it for this one. If you guys like what we're doing at GamingBolt, please consider subscribing to our channel, and I'll see you guys on the next video.